Hello everyone, welcome to the 47th episode of ICC BiZ Live. Today is today's episode focuses on brand building, and today we have two brand experts on the show who will converse among themselves. Let me introduce you to them. One is Promita Mukherjee. She is a CEO of Bengal brand INC. She's he has over 2 decades of experience in brand marketing. And another is Bitan Chakraborty, the Chief Strategy Officer, Maya Buyers Group. Both are based in Kolkata, and Bitan has more than 24 years of experience in brand building. So, and with this, I would like to withdraw and let them converse among themselves. But I request each speaker to give a detailed introduction on themselves. And naturally, as ladies first, Madam Promita, first introduce yourself. Hello, hello, Promita ma'am. Okay, the show is live. Bitan, the request, Chakraborty request you to introduce yourself. While Promita ma'am.
Hi, thank you, Rayoshi. I'm Bitan Chakraborty, currently working as the Chief Strategy Officer with MyBS Group. MyBS is a marketing agency. We are a national brand present nationally across the country, doing various kind of communication based on technology. As for me, I am in the industry for the last 25 years, working in the domains of brand building, advertising, marketing, and communications with some global WP agencies like Gray, Bates, uh, agencies over here like Response, and also corporates like Keventer and Highland. Right now, I have been working closely with the founders for the overall business transformation and overall business growth. So that's the domain in which I work currently, besides marketing and advertising. So that's about me.
Nice to hear that, Promita ma'am.
Promita is not available over here.
There were some tech issues. I hope I am audible to everyone.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Hi, my name is Promita Mukherjee. I am the co-founder of the Bengal Inc. I am also a media and communications and brand marketing professional. For the last 18 plus years, I started my career as a journalist with the Telegraph in Calcutta. And many old readers of the Sunday magazine Graffiti would know my name instantly because they would read my stories every single week. However, while I started my career in Calcutta, from there I moved on to Delhi, which was the hub of media, which still is the hub of media. But I worked with publications like The Mint, Midday, launched publications like Millennium Post. Thereafter, I moved to Bombay, where I was the digital editor of Femina, which is my last active journalism stint. While now I write on various topics, and one of the main topics I write on, main subject I write on is founder entrepreneurs profiling for Indigo's In-Flight magazine. However, I have shifted streams since a mainstream full-time journalist. I was with ICICI Bank. I set up their content studio. I worked for 5 years with Z5, setting up the OTT brand, and I left as an associate director of content marketing. Currently, I'm building the Bengal Inc. We launched on the 9th of May. Why the Bengal Inc.? What is the Bengal Inc.? The Bengal Inc. is a networking platform which is helping build the non existent or the barely there startup ecosystem of Bengal. So, it is a platform where founders meet investors, investors meet ideas, and uh, you know, uh, professionals who have succeeded in their fields. They take master classes. There is a lot more to Bengal Link, which I'm sure we are going to discuss over the period of this podcast. But just wanted to say a quick hi and welcome to everyone for joining the podcast. And thank you for joining the podcast. Over to you, Bitan.
Yeah, thank you, Promita. Really wonderful to have you over here.
Mm-hmm,
More so because personally too, I'm very much interested in this entire phenomenon of building the brand Bengal. There's a lot to be done, and therefore I think we'll have an engaging conversation today.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, so a warm welcome to all the audience over here to this podcast. And we believe we'll be able to discuss things which will be of benefit to everyone. And
mm-hmm.
please keep your questions coming. And towards the end, we'll do a 5 minute kind of a Q&A session wherein we might take up some questions and answer those, right, Pumita?
Sure, sure, definitely. Happy
So,
to take
as
questions.
Bhumika said, like she is the founder of Bengal Inc. The interesting part of it is uh, having been a career journalist, starting off from Calcutta and then moving out Bombay, Delhi, across brands like Femina to Hindustan Times to Z5, and then coming back. What we generally see is people come back generally to like pursue their career or maybe something similar.
Mm-hmm,
But here we have you coming back to create something which the state actually needs, which is a robust ecosystem for entrepreneurs and business.
mm-hmm.
So, yes, if you could tell us a little more about Bengal Inc. To begin with, how did this idea of Bengal Inc. come in?
So I'll give you a real life example. Okay. While I have been a journalist, I'd also started two ventures, and I have no qualms in admitting that I had failed in both the ventures. I had started a venture called properdealer.com, which is India's first 360-degree real estate platform back in 2014 when data was not so cheap, and everything, a real estate purchase required a physical visit to the site. Even though a lot of buyers may be NRIs, it required a lot of physical visits. If the couldn't go, NRI would send a relative, a friend to check out a project. So Proper Dealer was India's first prop tech, and I can proudly announce that what the IPCs started after COVID was something Proper Dealer dreamt of in 2014. Not just properdealer.com, I also launched an app called, again, calling it app is, to be very honest, stretching it a bit too much because the concept of apps did not come in back in 2015 when I launched Calcutta Clicks, which was supposed to be a virtual best friend in selecting what to wear, who to, where to wear, what to accessorize with. But however, those are failed ventures. Now, the idea of the Bengal Ink came from one thing. While I tried and I failed and I went back to a safe job, so to say. I moved to Femina as their digital editor in Mumbai.
True,
However, the bug of starting something of my own, entrepreneurship is something that I call a bug. You know,
true,
it is always there at the back of your mind. You're always thinking of ideas. If you are someone who doesn't like a 9 to 5 or a 10 to 6, and you would rather do something on your own. Journalism is, after all, a creative field, right? It's a field of ideas. brand marketing again is a field of ideas. So that bug was always there, and while I was working in the brand marketing sector in finance and fintech, I realized that, over the last few years, so I was handling in Z5, I was handling a show called Pictures season 2. Pictures was a hugely successful show, Pictures season 1, when, it came on YouTube, and season 2. And, while doing Pictures, I realized that, among the youth, there's a huge craze about startups, which, reflects in the success of Shark Tank. Now, the thing is, ki while cities like Mumbai, Gurgaon, Bangalore, they already have an existing startup ecosystem. The investors are there, the ideas are there, the founders are there. Somebody or the other is always building or the other, somewhere or the other. However, in Kolkata, whenever I used to discuss ideas and startups, business ideas, funding, somehow the Bengal and Calcutta was completely missing in the picture. You know, However, if you see that it's not like Calcutta doesn't have successful businesses or it doesn't have billionaires. That a lot of Indian billionaires are based out of Calcutta or have some sort of a setup in Calcutta. ITC is still running in Calcutta. What I realized that is Bengal has a brand perception problem, you know, and especially when it came to business, when me as a person who's been in 18 plus years of my career, I have been in a salary job for say 16 years. So whenever I would talk within the immediate family that I want to become an entrepreneur, the first thing, and this is true of almost every Bengali house, is that they would say, the first thing that would come to you is go for a safe job. you know why do you want to run a business? There are risks, there's uncertainty, you might fail, you might not fail. In my immediate family there are entrepreneurs themselves. My dad himself is an entrepreneur. He was a industry, he was into industrial construction. So my point is that this perception that was built over the years for decades, that you can't do business, you're a Bengali. Bengalis don't do business. They get into, they are successful in various fields. They're doctors, engineers, they're successful, as diplomats, career diplomats, they're IAS, in marketing, advertising, everything but in business. And that used to strike me really hard, that because, we Bengalis have a history of doing business. You know, the
True.
when you think of Kolkata, for instance, entire North Kolkata, which is the hub of Kolkata, which is where Kolkata started, was built by successful Bengali businessmen. Be it the Tagore family or Ramdulal Sarkar or the Shobajar Rajbari, anybody you could think of, the Khilat Babus, the Dottos. Bengalis built Calcutta, Bengali entrepreneurship, Bengali money built Calcutta, right? Of course, there were other
True.
communities who I believe are as much Bengalis as anyone else is, because, they've lived in Bengal, they've worked in Bengal, they've established, businesses in Bengal. So that is one thing I have always, this perception I've seen, and this perception is not something I have personally liked. I'm a very emotional person. It is not a perception that I have liked or agreed to, because my point was very simple. Bengalis have a history of doing business. Okay,
So,
over the
yeah,
last few,
therefore,
sorry,
it's like this. So yeah, so is this sort of, we may put the missing link between what
you
Bengal
can call it
actually
the
has
missing
been.
link. Yes, you can call
Yeah,
it the missing link,
yeah.
because
So
I'll just
what
give you
the perception has
an
been.
example. The last, 3 4 months, I was in Kolkata, and after living in Mumbai for while, I used to keep going back to Kolkata every 3 4 months. However, I have hello,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, huh, sorry. Uh, so I have seen that things. are changing bit by bit. There is an enthusiasm. I personally have seen people who have left their cushy jobs to, follow their passion. Some have become, some are running successful restaurants. Some are running, other things on their own. This time when I was in Kolkata and I was, meeting various people for various reasons, met a lot of people who, some of them I knew for a long time, but I had no idea about the scale of businesses that they built in and around Kolkata, you know. And so and these are people who are not into flashy businesses, by flashy I mean, they're not building a services based something which is more like a B2C, which, will reach out to more people, things that, services public, the public will use. These are people who are building hardcore manufacturing, sitting. I know somebody who's sitting in Kolkata with a huge factory in Dankuni, where he is making these forging components which goes to, everything from aeroplanes to nuclear devices to windmills, creating wind power. There is another gentleman who I met who's building these fasteners for nuclear devices. Now, had you ever thought that, a Bengali entrepreneur sitting in Kolkata is building fasteners meant for nuclear devices?
True. So, Promita, just to get back to the question that which we
Mhm,
started.
mhm,
So, if we
mhm,
talk of that one single idea, which or one single intent with which you
mhm,
started, or
mhm,
with which which was the germ of the idea, kind of. So, what I get from hearing you speak is that
mhm,
there are a couple of things. First is the fact that Bengalis have been businessmen historically, and however, that seems to be missing in an organized format. However, in your experiences, you have come across people who are doing various types of business and not necessarily of the flashy kind of, the branded kind of, as we're talking.
mhm,
So you sensed a sense of or an opportunity wherein you can provide a platform to sort of coordinate and provide a channel for them, wherein you can sort of provide an ecosystem for them
mhm.
to develop a business in a more structured manner, in a manner that is more easily understood, identified, and
Right,
presented.
right,
So
right,
that I
right,
would say is how the idea of this came up.
right. So
That's
there are
wonderful.
two
But I'd like to
reasons
ask
behind.
one more thing,
Right.
Promita,
Mm.
which is because you have been out for so long and some
Yeah,
time
yeah.
at least, and you have been mingling with people all around, more so being in
Mhm.
media. Tell me very candidly, and that is something we all want to hear, want to know, is what actually is the perception of Bengal and Kolkata in the entire country? Very short, but still in very short. What is it?
Okay, okay. I moved out of Calcutta in 2010. In 2010, the perception of Kolkata and Bengalis in particular was a very erudite, learned class of people, not great at business, uh, but erudite, educated set of people. Since 2010 to from 2010 to 2026 to right before early 2026, that impression of respect, the respect that we had gotten, had turned into ridicule. I have no other way to put it. I'm being very blunt. It had turned
That's
into
fine. That's the
ridicule.
very immediate context. But overall, like you have interacted
Yes,
with people
yes,
who have stayed in
yes,
Mumbai or in Delhi for say
yes,
20 years,
yes,
30 years, right? So
yes.
overall, what's their
Mhm.
perception of Bengal?
Overall, the perception of Bengal till I would say 4 5 months back was extremely negative. However, what I see is since May, I see a renewed sense of optimism in people, a renewed sense of interest in people. Now, while for Bengal Link, we are also reaching out to investors, in the sense to create the startup ecosystem, but so that we can connect founders to investors. What I see is a lot of interest in Bengal currently. Everyone wants to come to Bengal. Everyone wants the first mover advantage. But I would also at the same time say that people are cautiously optimistic at the moment. They are still testing the waters. While they want to come in, they're still testing the waters. But there is a lot more enthusiasm and interest in Bengal than what I had witnessed even last year.
Okay, understood. Actually, I'm trying to guess, trying to get another point of view also.
Mhm,
So, what you were saying is the socio-economic perspective of Bengal among people, right?
mhm.
Uh, I'll just narrate some visuals to you, right?
Okay, sure.
So when Bengal or Kolkata gets portrayed in the media, and I don't mean news by media, I mean anything, films to books to anything,
Mhm,
anything. We have stereotypes. It's the yellow taxi, it's the tram, it's the hand-pulled rickshaw, it's the processions going on street, it's the cluttered, chaotic street with tram lines crisscrossing, it's the bylanes of North Calcutta, right? It's the quintessential Dhaki, the Kumartuli, the Lalpar Shari Bengali woman,
ধুনুচি
and
নাচ,
then so sorry,
ধুনুচি নাচ।
Dhunuchi Nach and Howrah Bridge and all of these, right? What surprises me is this is something, these rather are the things that have been portraying Bengal for the last 55 years, right? We also portray other cities like a Mumbai itself or a Delhi or India as a whole. We all know in the 80s or before that, if someone were to portray India to the outside world, it would be the land of snake charmers, sadhus, right? And temples and all. But that is not the India of today, like say 20, 30 years back. Ever since 1992, things have changed, right?
Mhm,
But for the portrayal of Bengal, I do not know why. These are the stereotypes which are being used everywhere. And even in films, take a film like a Kahani, which was shot in over here, it was replete with things which are actually not what Bengal is, Kolkata is. Now, having been a city which has a legacy of 400 plus years, you would
mhm,
go to any corner and you will find some of those. It's there. It's there in Mumbai, it's there in Delhi, it's there even in New York, I mean, which is a much younger city, right? But the portrayal of it. So what I see is people from Bengal who say had moved out of the city some 40 years back, 30 years back, and rightly so, they have a lot of nostalgia with this place. Whenever
mhm,
they get an opportunity to portray Bengal, be it in their films, be in their advertising films that they make,
mhm,
they tend to portray in the cliched manner, nostalgic manner. They get a satisfaction of revisiting nostalgia, but what they fail to realize is in doing this, they have done a grievous
disservice.
danger to the city, which is they have portrayed the city as one which is wrapped in time, right? Newtown is not there anywhere. All our metro expansions not there anywhere, or our sector 5 not there anywhere. Okay, so this is something which really pains me, right? So what would be your views on this?
So, Bitan, like you rightly pointed out, every city has stereotypes, right? When a filmmaker or an advertiser is showcasing Mumbai, for instance, what will they showcase? They will showcase Honeyman Circle, they will showcase Marine Drive, they will showcase Ballard Estate, which gives you the feeling of, that you're somewhere in Spain or Italy or something. Okay, we have that exact replica of Ballard Estate in Dalhousie. How many filmmakers show Dalhousie?
Absolutely. So even the examples which you gave are recent examples.
Mhm.
Like in
Exactly.
that context, if we were to go
Mhm,
back to a 70s film of a Rishikesh Mukherjee or a Basu Chatterjee out of Bombay, the kind
mhm.
of Bombay that was shown though doesn't exist today.
Doesn't exist
And
anymore.
neither have they continued to portray that as what Bombay is.
Right.
Right. So
I'll give you a very simple example. I have mostly lived in Andheri since I shifted to Mumbai. I have seen Andheri change right before my eyes. I've seen two metros come up in Andheri West itself. I'm not even counting East. Okay, I've seen two metros come up. It has changed beyond recognition, by and large. But again, Kolkata, for various reasons, while what you said is partly true, Kolkata, it's not just the portrayal. Kolkata in itself is partly, wrapped in time, because there has been no infrastructure, little or no infrastructure upgrade. There have been some parts of Kolkata which, if you see any reel about Kolkata, you will either see the Vishwa Bangla, the restaurant thing in Newtown, or you will see ITC Royal Bengal. Now, I love ITC Royal. I'm sure you also do. But I don't know a single five-star hotel, including Taj Kulaba, which has been photographed and put in reels to, showcase the city that many times. Kolkata can't be one hotel building or one, gate somewhere. Kolkata is much more than that. So we Bengalis love to eat, right? But every Bengali, every non-resident Bengali, when they go back to the same five places in Park Street. However,
hmm,
how many of them know that there are so many new beautiful cafes which have come up, not just in Southern Avenue. I mean, Shapunda, if you're watching this, I love your idea of the cafe district in Southern Avenue. And it is a brilliant idea. There are some wonderful cafes in Southern Avenue, but all across Salt Lake, there are such pretty cafes. Why have we not showcased Salt Lake? Salt Lake
we
is
have
very
not.
much a part of the city.
We have
There
not.
are
That's what I'm
beautiful
saying.
places to explore there,
So that's
right?
that's so I
Kolkata
think the
basically,
owners.
right.
That's what. So I think we're in the same line on this, and the onus is therefore also with the people who are,
Jonas is
so to
with
say,
us.
image makers,
Yes.
right? So people in the media, people in advertising, people in
Mhm.
films, people in, okay, like people like even writers, for instance.
Right,
So
right.
for everyone, they are the image makers of cities, and the onus is on them, on us, to portray our own homeland as something which is prestigious and we're proud of, right? People have moved out of the city, have been moving out of the city for 50 years, and fine. I mean, they've got a better life over there. They were staying over there, great. Enjoy a good life, but then don't put down your homeland, right? That doesn't benefit anyone. So, like
Kolkata
for
is not
yourself,
a
you have choose.
museum of nostalgia, it is not a museum of nostalgia. It is a living, breathing city, and it deserves what Kolkata suffers from is a perception, a brand perception problem.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Right. Even in the context of business itself, if you were to say, like when you moved out, from then to now, if you were to see, if we to talk about businesses, not that there has been a growth of industry over here. Never. I'm not saying that. But despite that, there have been, because as a person who has been in advertising, we keep on advertising for different categories of products, right? So the last 25 odd years, or the 20 odd years, we have categories of products from Bengal which we have been advertising, and therefore that means they're being sold. That means there's a market, there's a customer, and this business is
Mhm,
growing, right?
mhm, mhm.
So categories like a jewelry, categories like a TMT bar, categories like media. We have so many Bengali vernacular media houses in television, in radio, in newspaper, right? So all this has boomed over time. Healthcare has boomed, so many hospitals. Education sector has boomed, so many institutions. Now, I'm not going political in this, right? These are businessmen and they have done their own businesses. Things have happened. It's not that things have not happened. Things have happened by the grit and determination of businessmen, right? But despite that, the feeling is, the mindset is that things are not moving. So it's a mindset issue, maybe, wherein we take things like it's not happening, things are not happening, and like that. And what also happens is there's a vice versa thing to it, that people are paid very low over here in corporates. It's taken that a person working in Calcutta in any level earns 35% less than what the person would earn, a similar person would earn in a Gurgaon or in a Mumbai or in a Bangalore. The reason being cost of living is low. But if
I
you
would
take,
like to categorically address that. The cost of living is not at all less in Kolkata.
absolutely not, it's not. It's not. Because what happens is, first of all, in many cases, because when you're talking cost of living, we're talking about consumerism, and this is a thing on brands, and you're building brands. So therefore, the conversation, uh, 60 to 70% and more of what we consume every day are branded products. Their prices do not differ across cities, right? Even more, not even 60 to 70%, even more than that, 80 to 90%, depending on the socio-economic strata we belong to. So the prices are the same in that. The only difference is the real estate price. But even in that, in Kolkata today, for real estate, the entry level price is a 1 CR plus. 1 CR plus is considered to be middle class in Calcutta,
Middle class.
wherein the
Middle
average
class
income
gated
of
society,
people,
1 CR.
huh, whereas the average income of people in the city is far below 80,000
35 to
per month,
40,000.
50,000 per month. Yeah, far below that. And the enterprise is 1 CR. So there's a disparity in there. So real estate prices are high, and that way it goes. So therefore, it's not a cheap city for sure. And yeah, so that's what it is. It's a perception issue. Everything is a perception issue, and I believe that Bengal Inc. will do something to really address this perception issue.
So, Bitan, while I can't change the overall perception of Kolkata overnight, and because the entire, every Bengali, not just Kolkata, and Kolkata, Bengal is not just Calcutta, right? There is Shiliguri, there is Bardhaman, there is, Bankura, there is
Asansol,
Durgapur,
Durgapur,
there is
everything.
Asansol, exactly. Every person from every part, and I don't understand, why we have not been able to market another city apart from Kolkata, right? I mean, yes, we know people outside know a Darjeeling. They don't know, most of them don't know a Sundarban. They don't know that this our state has a massive, when we speak about tourism, and Bengalis love travel as well as they love, as much as they love food, that we have the jungle, we have the Himalayas, we have the sea, all three plus culture
Oh,
in
and
one
snow.
state,
And
right?
snow.
If you meet any Bengali outside of Kolkata, outside of Bengal, and you ask them, where are you from? They will all say Kolkata. So people outside Bengal who are not Bengalis, who are not from Bengal, have no idea that there exist places beyond Kolkata. If you probe them,
True.
they might actually be from any other place. They might be from Jhargram, but nobody knows the Jhargram, so they will all say they're from Calcutta, right?
True.
So it is our problem that we have not been able to market our state, our city well. Like, and when I say that, my shat naman to the people who have built in Bengal in the last 50 odd years. I can only imagine how hard it has been, and the Bengal Inc. also exists to bring their stories to front. The idea of the Bengal Inc. is very simple. A, we want to break the perception that Bengalis can't do business and you can't do business in Bengal. There are a lot of companies which are built in Bengal who don't have the limelight on them. So the Bengal Inc. also exists to tell their stories, right? But however, while storytelling is a part of brand building, our brand building effort for Bengal, our main aim is to build the startup ecosystem, like I said, for Bengal. So our main criteria, while we connect, ideas with investors, our main criteria is that you build in Bengal. You can
True.
build anywhere in Bengal. You can build in a Doers, or you can build in a Bakura, or you can build in a Godoldoba, or you can build in a Khejuri, or you can build in Calcutta.
And
However, the
how do you
main thing is,
propose to do it? How do you propose to educate people on this?
sorry,
I mean,
can you please
you have
repeat that
some
again?
initiatives that you will run under Bengal Link. What all will you do?
So, we are starting very soon this month itself with our expert master classes. So
Master.
while I have seen in the last few years there is a lot of hunger in the next generation among also millennials, some younger millennials, to build something on their own in Kolkata.
True. True.
I know quite a few people who are doing remote jobs, and I met this person very recently, just before I came back to Mumbai briefly. I met this person who's working in digital marketing in Dubai. I don't know if he's watching it today. He's working remotely in digital marketing for a Dubai firm, and he's building an AI based solution for transport in Kolkata. Young Bengali guy, excellent idea, which he's already presented to the government. And I hope something, if he comes to us, we are able to do something for him. So there are people with ideas who want to build something, who don't want to stay stuck in a 9 to 5 job, who don't want to spend their entire time beyond, behind a computer building for others. They want to build something for themselves. They want to build something for the state. They want to build something for the city. So Bengal Inc.'s masterclass. However, while these are people with ideas, there are also people who are waiting to take the plunge. They have an idea, maybe it's a germ of an idea, but they don't know how to take the next steps. Now, while in established startup places like a Bangalore or a Gurgaon or a Mumbai, there are these various meetups and lunches, dinners, breakfast meets, cycling meets, where you get to interact with other founders, you get to interact with some investors, and
Networking
take your
platforms, basically
yeah, take
networking.
your idea further. So our master classes are designed for those who can get directly knowledge from experts. It's a knowledge thing that we are building on how to build a startup from scratch, and every that covers everything from how to approach a VC or an investor, to the simplest thing like how to build a deck before you approach a VC, or how to pitch to a VC. You have 10 minutes. How do you pitch to a VC? Or what is checklist when you want to start a company? Are there government grants that you can reach out to apart from private funds? So master classes are designed for these. The podcasts are with policymakers. Our first one is with Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal, who is the ESC to the Prime Minister of
Oh,
India.
that's wonderful.
That goes live this week. So our podcasts are with policymakers who talk about various factors of startup, enterprise, how to go about it. With ministers who talk about policymakers. There are also podcasts with entrepreneurs who have built in Bengal, so that we showcase the reason why we're doing podcasts with entrepreneurs who built in Bengal is to show people that you are not the only one. There are people who have built in Bengal. There are people who built successful businesses in Bengal. We have another podcast coming up with with the owner and director of Malcolm India Limited, who's built a 500 CR plus PP company which is exporting to around the world from the outskirts of Calcutta. He has 13 factories, 12 of which are in various parts of South 24 Parganas and other parts of Bengal. So there are people who have done it. There have been 100 challenges, but they have done it. So if they can do it in Bengal, you can do it too. So that is one part. The second part. The third part is, of course, the most important part, which is connecting ideas to funds. You might have a great idea. You have zero access to funds. You have no idea how to access funds. What happens to the idea? It stays at the ideation stage. Now, this
Yes.
is the gap that we had identified right at the beginning. That, this is the gap. There is, while, some people have immediate access to funds, most people don't have immediate access to funds. But they might have an excellent idea which needs to see the light of the day, and which, maybe they're building something in, robotics or AI in medicine, or, a life saving component for healthcare, or they are building manufacturing capacity, or they're building a service. you know there are multiple services that can be are in requirement, and if nothing else, they are They are building a probiotics brand. They are
Mhm.
building a healthy ice cream brand. They are building a wellness brand. There are so many in Gen Z who have turned entrepreneurs, who are building experiences for people.
True.
With Gen Z, more than things they can buy, experiences matter to them. So they're
Yeah.
building experiences for them. So art, what we are doing to ensure, and we're calling this part of the venture the deal room, we are connecting those ideas to funds so that ideas meet funds and they align together.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. So in
Right.
that, like, what also happens in such forums, what we generally see, like whenever we're talking about a ecosystem for startups, uh, what we generally see is that the focus primarily goes into finance, because yes, finance is what runs businesses.
Mhm. Mhm.
But the other thing is, it's great to have an idea. It's even greater to have finance
Mhm.
for it.
Mhm.
But the other important aspect is the marketing of it. Right? It's about the marketing of it, how you are
Yeah.
presenting your product to the
Right.
customers.
Right.
In
Right.
presenting your products,
Mhm.
how are you communicating your product, how are you packaging your product, how are you branding your product, and all of this. Even if we look at the businesses that Bengal has had, like
Mhm.
the legacy businesses, kind of. Take for instance, right from a Mohenjo-Dal Dotto to a KC Das to even Borolin, the biggest brand, there has been a great lacuna and gap in the way the products got marketed over time.
Mhm. Right.
You would recall anywhere, like even in sweet shops, everywhere, we have this written, আমাদের কোনো শাখা নেই, right? And we're
Canone.
so, hmm? কেন নেই,
Why is it
exactly.
not there? Canone.
Exactly. কিন্তু আমাদের কোনো শাখা নেই, so our mindset of doing business has been কি, the original, the authentic, because culturally, I mean, we are wired in this manner ever since childhood and generations, is that it's very important to be authentic and original. So being authentic and original and unique is something that is ingrained in us as a culture, and therefore আমাদের কোনো শাখা নেই. Whereas the entire marketing world, which is predominantly or completely based on the American culture, over there it's about spreading your business far and wide. So it's about the franchise system, it's about the distribution
Mhm.
network, even if you're in FMCG and all. So আমাদের কোনো শাখা নেই, that stance is diametrically opposite to what success in marketing would require. Right? Of course, there are huge brands, large brands, which are like very niche marketing, as we call it. But that is not for the masses. That's for
Right.
not for all of us to several.
Mhm.
So that's one more thing about branding. Just like we need to brand Bengal properly, change its perception for the world.
Mhm. Mhm.
Similarly, it is also important for us to brand our businesses properly. So, say for instance, the Hoshiari market. In the Hoshiari
Mhm.
market, the top brands are from Bengal, be it Rupa, be it Lux, be it Amul. But if we
Mhm.
to look at it, and they're doing very good, their businesses are doing very good, wonderful in volume and all. And then
Mhm.
on the other hand, we have like a jockey or a CK. Now, if we look at the entire young population who are coming in, they would
Mhm.
rather, they all of them, like right from school, they prefer a jockey or a CK over any of the other brands,
Right.
right? But why so? Why so? I mean, business wise, volume wise, yes, we're there. But when it comes to building imagery for the brand, we're perhaps not there. Right? So even like if we to take off any of our other brands, shoes, for instance, Khadim has one of the widest footprint among the Bengal-based footwear
Affordable
brands.
quality footwear. Yes.
Yeah. So across the country, it has a better footprint. Among the jewelry, PC Chandra, Senko, they're doing a bit, they're going out a bit.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's not that we have a large handful of brands. Among the very new ones, yes, Wow Momo is the one that had been the biggest kind of. And there are many brands here and there which are doing very good. And yes, rightly as you mentioned, when we're talking about startup business and entrepreneurs, there are two sectors, broad sectors. One is like the new generation of family business, and the other is entrepreneurs who are first time entrepreneurs. So yes, I think there's a very important way in which one can connect both this together and provide them a platform. But along with the financial part, like fractional, like what we have in a Bangalore or in a,
Mhm.
Mumbai or Gurgaon, we have this fractional professionals. So you have a fractional CMO or a fractional
Right,
CFO,
right,
because these
right.
businesses cannot afford to have a high paying or a experienced resource
Mhm. Mhm.
as a business head. So there is this organizations which pool talent, and they provide, say, a CFO for two three different startups. So these companies get the benefit of experienced talent, and these experienced talent get the benefit of being engaged with multiple businesses,
Right,
and therefore
right,
that's a new thing.
right.
So that's how it is. I mean, those are the things perhaps also would be wonderful if we could focus on
So those
perhaps.
are already in the pipeline. We have people associated with us who can do that. Uh, of course, I mean, it comes at additional service charges. But yes, we do have the capability to, do brand marketing because me and my co-founders are all from, media brand marketing backgrounds. So that is something, that is it comes as a second nature for us, to be very honest. However, if you're talking about fractional CMO or fractional CFO, we do have the provision for that,
Wonderful.
legal services, financial, like if anybody needs a CA, for their accounts and everything. But of course, cannot afford to keep somebody on a payroll. We have those services as well.
Yeah, I mean that's it. Then what happens? You actually build an ecosystem, because as you
Ecosystem
know,
has
in
to be
business.
360-degree, otherwise, there is no ecosystem.
True, true, true. And the other thing is that ecosystem is not about initiation; it's about sustenance. So what you're talking about, or we're talking about, is
Mhm.
what would give sustenance to this business. It's good to provide them capital for starting, but it's also more
Mhm.
important to uh, make them sort of enable them to continue their business in a successful manner. So yeah, that's great. I think
Yeah,
we are almost nearing the end, kind of the time slot.
right, right.
So yeah, if we have any questions from the audience, we could take that perhaps. Let me just check. No, there are no questions that I see over here.
Okay.
No, I don't see any questions. One more
No
new
problem.
question. There are a lot of comments I see, but no such direct questions. So, anyways, it was really wonderful to catch up with you, Promita, and understand.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah, and really look forward that Bengal Inc. really does what it aspires to do and
Thank you.
contributes to the overall ecosystem of business and entrepreneurship in Kolkata.
Our
Thanks a
vision
lot.
is to build Bengal and bring Bengal right back into the conversation. And I really hope we, succeed in doing that because the universe knows that we need that. We
Of
need to be
course,
back in the conversation. We need
of
to be
course,
back in the money conversation. We need to be back in the business conversation. Bengal needs to be so back.
true, true, true. And I think there's a sense of positivity all around, and
Mhm.
things will definitely work out for the best.
Right, right. Thank you so
Okay.
much for
Thank
having
you.
me in this podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.